What's good, family? Chief Drano here. I have been wanting to do this video for the past 3 weeks, but due to my busy schedule, I've only now been able to get to it. Part of my effort to promote Africa to the world is to encourage Pan-Africanism, which is a system that ensures unity amongst black people, promoting economic empowerment with the goal of global dominance and supremacy, having home and base of operation centralized on a mother continent. It is necessary for the entire continent of Africa and people of African descent worldwide to unite. It is also paramount that we talk about the past. Knowledge of the past gives wisdom and direction forward into the future. The history of Africa has been great until about 3,000 years ago, when Eurasians decided to unleash a relentless campaign to ensure the utter destruction of African civilizations and enslave native Africans and rape the mother continent of its natural resources. Everything in the Book of Evil was enacted on the people of Africa, from direct brutal exterminations to colonization and oppression through religion and mind control, to the extent that Africans today still are reliant on the imperial mindset of the European. Africans today are divided by artificial lines drawn between tribes or clans belonging to the same family, and so on, but fail to come together to unite in 2018. For the sole purpose of becoming a global superpower. Upon my research, I came across an article from the BBC dated on the 7th of April 2011. This article, titled "Mau Uprising, Bloody History of Kenya Conflict," caught my attention. Honestly, there is also a conflict here with the headline. The Mau Uprising, which occurred in a period between 1952 and lasted until the 1960s, could be said of as a fight for freedom and liberation of the Kenyan people from the oppression of British colonial rule, and it is not just a mere revolt. British settlers basically by force and dubious means possessed the farmland in Kenya, enslaved the natives to till the land, thus causing deprivation, trauma, and devastation on the cultural order and harmony of the locals. This much and more could be said about the entire continent colonized by the Europeans. Since 1945, after the Second World War, many Africans had begun the fight for liberation. Many of these Africans had returned home from fighting alongside the British and the French and their allies to liberate Europe from the impending doom unleashed upon them by the German Nazi army. This gave rise to so many riots throughout the British colonies, and the African now has the newfound strength to stand up to his oppressor, look him in the eye, and demand his freedom, and take land back, and use the skills of battle in Europe to fight if needed. This gave rise to the likes of Dr. Nkrumah, who gained independence for Ghana, the then called Gold Coast, in 1957, sending a shockwave throughout the British Empire. Jomo Kenyatta was a man of the likes of Dr. Nkrumah. He formed a political movement called the Kenyan African Union, O.A.U, which pressed the British government relentlessly for political rights and land reform. But ultimately, they wanted freedom and would love to see the British go back home. Soon enough, militant groups sprouted out of the O.A.U and became radicalized. A freedom-fighting group of mainly the Kikuyu, which is the most dominant tribe in Kenya, armed themselves and caused an insurrection against the British. The militia started by raiding settlers' homes and murdering them brutally, sending fears amongst the British settlers. Estimated 32 whites were killed. News got to the British Crown, and long story short, the British Army responded with a heavy hand and murdered close to 1 million Kenyans through methods of direct combat using superior weapons, aerial bombings, starvations in concentration camps of suspected Kikuyu freedom fighters, and hangings of convicted suspects. The atrocity the British committed was so revolting and dirty that the British citizens, ordinary British citizens in England, began questioning the validity of the British Empire, and journalists wrote on the ticket to defame and bring the British Empire to shame. This eventually led to the independence of Kenya from the British colonial rule. Jomo Kenyatta became Kenya's first president in 1963. Today, Kenyans enjoy a very prosperous nation which is self-governed by Kenyans themselves. At the time of this video, one of my all-time African inspirational leaders, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, son of Jomo Kenyatta, is president of Kenya. I admire President Uhuru in his endeavor to ensure economic stability, promote African integrity, and above all, maintain unity and love amongst his people and Africa as a whole. Britain needs to be held accountable for the atrocities it committed, and it must pay reparations. So family, using the model of the Mau Mau insurrection and fight for freedom and independence, this is my thoughtful piece, outlining the blueprint to a united Africa, an Africa that will become a superpower and a force to reckon with when we control our own affairs and prevent interferences, an Africa that would see and uphold the true purpose of the A.U., the African Unity, or the African Union, which stems from the Organization of African Unity, O.A.U., spearheaded by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Emperor Haile Selassie, that has united the entire continent of Africa into one nation, one people, one currency, and a common goal. The future of Africa is bright. We need more inspirational leaders, leaders that are able to stand and uphold the integrity of Africa, whilst promoting Black First and Black First agenda. Long live Africa, and long live the motherland.